and which is not really land abundant to the agriculturally world continent. These are no-brainer. Sign FTA with Japan, Korea, let's say Europe as a whole, and perhaps the US. For the simple reason that they could act as threaten our agriculture, so if we protect our agriculture, do something about agriculture and keep it there, the employment loss won't happen. But on almost all other aspects, we've come out more positive because of a very low labor costs and dynamic contribution. Whereas FTAs with the competitive countries like Thailand, China, Vietnam, and so on should be more carefully considered.
Here from the guys itself, this side. Please keep your questions ready. I'll take 2 more questions.
Your apprehension about public sector's role in the health institutions. Is there any scope public-private, innovative public partnerships in areas where market failures are really high, as is the case in development, even in scale that matter? Or you think that it's going to be difficult given the fact that government doesn't want this?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Well, yeah, of course, in that one must be given, because we are working for
Good morning, I'm the audio from MC Praman, Malaysia. So thank you for sharing. It's very insightful. I'd like to ask about this. Since we are talking about the government of India is now focusing on this the negotiation with the UK, the EU for the FTA. So I just would like to maybe your comment about the Indian decision not to join this RCEP. Okay, because it was done until the last moment that India pulled out from the RCEP, and now as we know, the US also with this Clinton administration and looking very different policy, especially on the protectionism. So maybe you'd like to comment about this RCEP, whether it is an opportunity for India to join in the future.
Thank you. Yes, young man here. The last question, and then. Your name, please.
Good morning, my name is Shiv. Belong to the business team. My question is very straight to the same part that you talked about the startup earlier. So basically, what financial strategies should creative entrepreneur use to scale up their ventures? Sharp and clear question I would like to ask you.
Okay. First of all, let me thank everybody who asked the question. Believe me, I may not be able to answer your question. It has to trigger some thinking in my mind, and I reflect. And usually, my experience is that whenever people ask a question, they actually know the answer. They want to know whether you want to give the same answer. Hello? Is this any better? Yeah. I'm saying that whenever people ask questions, in the back of their mind, they actually have an answer. And I think the organizers would do a great job if they offer that every person who has asked the question is later on asked, what is the answer you think is correct, and you can send it to me. Because I may not have the right answer, but I do have the question first. Second, let me talk about FTAs, because I think you spoke for our visitors from outside, and you touched on a very, very important question. I am utterly puzzled how it is that we negotiated for so long. Prime Minister himself went to Bangkok, I think. We thought to sign the RCEP, okay? And at the last minute decided not to. I have no idea. I think it's a mistake, and I have written on many occasions that was unfortunate. I even said that RCEP has left the door open for India. So, in my view, we should join now. Okay? The usual, I've asked a lot of people, what do you think happened? And they basically say that there was a lot of lobbying from different groups in the industry that weren't willing to compete with China, give free trade access to China. And the truth of the matter is that RCEP allowed a kind of a time period during which the tariffs would go down. We probably could have negotiated a longer time period vis-a-vis China compared to the others. And most of the Indian industry says, you must give us time. So frankly, if we gave them 10 years, let's say, to reduce the tariff, they would have a lot of demands on the Indian government that you should do this, and I think it would have been a good idea to publicize that and put pressure on our government to do what is necessary to make Indian industry competitive. So I don't know what actually happened. It will be very interesting to know. Because the puzzle is that, if the Prime Minister went himself, my assumption is that a lot of the guys who went with it thought that this was going to be signed. I mean, if for some reason we weren't going to sign, it would have gone. So I honestly don't know what was the change. But it is true that it's not just a geopolitical thing. I think lots of Indian industries, I personally think Indian industry has not woken up to what it means to be competitive in a world. So that is the biggest thing that all you people, whether you run companies or serve in them, should hold up a mirror. Are you guys ready to compete? And we should certainly not claim to be Vishwagurus if we can't compete. And I think that's the bottom line. I think I'm glad that we are negotiating with the EU and with the UK. RCEP had one big advantage. It didn't do too many back of the border standard alignments, whereas the Western countries are not really interested in tariff reductions. I mean, their tariffs are quite low. They're interested in aligning back of the border. And frankly, I think we need to do that. I mean, it's quite absurd for industry to say we can't observe labor standards, we can't observe whatever it is that other countries are able to do. EU has, I think in the last 3 weeks or so, signed a major FTA with Mercosur. Now that took a long time to negotiate, but it's there. So quite frankly, I hope that our negotiators, when they say we are going to sign an FTA, are aware that this is what the EU has signed with Mercosur just 3 weeks ago. So I mean, if you're willing to do something pretty similar, it should happen. But if you keep saying no, we don't agree, then what we are saying is we're not interested in it. And I don't know what the outcome will be. But honestly, I think we need to build up the virtual collapse of the WTO system means that if you want access to markets, you have to join FTAs. And I mean, that's a simple. The biggest pressure should come from Indian industry. I can tell you that's not the case. Most Indian industry looks at an FTA to say this will expose me to competition. They don't look that this will open up markets. I think we, our industry and our politics and our opinion makers have to be much more progressive in this. This is especially true because of fragmentation in the state. I mean, otherwise we run the risk, in my view, of just being isolated. Everybody else will be doing their deeds, and we will be standing by some unknown principles and not able to practice it. Doesn't make sense. It's also completely inconsistent with a good objective which the government has laid out, that we want to be part of the global supply chain, global value chain. I mean, exporting is no longer a case that I produce this mango from the seed to the fruit in India and now export. It is a question of joining a value chain where imports come, we do something, exports go up. Being part of the FTA simplifies all that hugely. Not being part of the FTA makes it very, very difficult. I'm sure that we realize that maybe, hopefully this time we can resolve. Sebastian, very interesting on the exchange rate. I mean, look, I can't give a short answer, but you're right that we need to think what is the appropriate exchange rate policy. But you know, a crucial thing here is that, in my view, our tariffs are too high. And the first job we should be doing is cutting them down and letting the exchange rate offset that reduction. If we did that, we would go halfway to where you want us to go. You can still have a problem because of portfolio flows. I mean, FDI doesn't walk up. Somebody builds a huge factory, they don't walk up. Portfolio flows can walk up tomorrow. And I mean, I'm afraid one argument, uh, if there's an outflow of portfolio flows because of a problem in the country, there's no alternative but fixing that problem. If the outflow is because of some global factor, you have to wait for that factor to be corrected. The only way you can protect yourself is to have high reserves and or have access to an organization like the IMF. Now the honest truth is the IMF is so political now that for a country like India, if we were caught with a big portfolio outflow problem, we might need support of $50, $60 billion. There is no chance of expecting that kind of support on that scale from the IMF fast and quickly. Therefore, we have to build up reserves. That's what we've done. I mean, we have about whatever $600 billion reserves. We lost about 50 billion of that in the last 4 or 5 months, trying to battle a little bit with the exchange rate. I mean, 600 billion is a fairly decent number. What it does is it enables you to buy. I mean, if you're seeing a continuous outflow, in the back of your mind, there's some limit which doesn't do attention. 30 billion is needed here or there. By the time you've lost 100 billion, I mean, you have to ask yourself, is the world cracking up? In which case, you better get into global discussions in the G20 saying what the hell is going on? Or is there something wrong with us in which case we'll fix it right? And I think what experience shows is that, you know, when it's a country-specific problem, investors are pretty quick to revise their plans. The guys who go up, besides the guys who come back in. We've had that before. And we should recognize. In fact, what it does is it puts our policy makers under a lens. And at the other end of the lens are a whole lot of investors. That's why one of these financial guys said that, you know, when I'm reborn, I want to be reborn as a bond market. But nothing scares people more than the bond market. That's exactly what we've experienced. Now, the difficult question is, you know, on skill development and agro, I don't have the answer. I know that there's a lot of this happening. I just think we need more. I'll tell you one story, which again, this is telling stories. That's this way. I went to Roper, IIT Roper, on my way to India and from Chandigarh. And Roper, they're doing a whole lot of very interesting things on agriculture, including setting up things that measure temperature and moisture and wind speed, which enables them to make a localized projection of when it's likely to rain. So you can get a very micro indication that's going to rain in this area. So I thought it was quite fascinating. We also developed a very interesting product which will serve anyone who's bearing cattle. Because when you have cattle and you are looking for obviously artificial insemination, this device by monitoring the animals, heartbeat, pulses, can tell you what's the optimum time for the artificial insemination to take place, and it comes on yourself. If you were in Bombay, this thing say, this is the plan. You call up your kid, you manage the farm and say, get it done in the next 3 hours. I thought that was pretty high-tech. And this guy told me that, you know, King Charles, who had his own farm in London, said was that these exist, but they're not being calibrated to our capital. So, it exists in Switzerland, but it's calibrated to Swiss capital. And the pulse and heartbeat conditions that have to be localized to the kind of animal that you're looking at. So it was not a breakthrough thing, but it was kind of an app very specific. So I said to him, I'm going to the Bucha Institute, and have you shared this with him? He says, I've asked them to come, but Roper is outside Ludhiana. Bucha Institute in Ludhiana. This counts as an intercity visit, for which the guy I wanted to come for a seminar in the afternoon, that's 40 kilometers away, had to get permission from the vice chancellor, who was out of town. We are running systems that are ludicrous. And on the one hand, you have a fellow who's taking care of a farmer who's got off long pay, and who can then connect with his farm and do the artificial insemination. But it's not easy to get a professor from Portugal to come to a seminar, because the process that the follow is identical, whether he goes to Roper or to Coimbatore. I mean, so lots more that needs to be done. But I think it's when people are doing this sooner or later, I think this will proceed. That feedback from startups, one good thing that's happened in the budget is the finance minister has announced that she's setting up a committee to deregulate. Okay? I think it's a very good idea. It'll all depend on who the composition of the committee is. I mean, if it's just a bunch of retired civil servants, useless. Not useless because they're not good, they just don't know. We should get some people from outside, management institutes, whatever, to provide a list of the actual changes needed to be done. And believe me, I've gone into this with many people. I was involved in policy earlier. At this level of detail, people in the government are just not aware. And I think here Indian industry is not doing a good job. Because there's no reason why Indian industry shouldn't be producing a list that look, these are the things that create a problem. Please correct them. Maybe this committee that's been set up will get some feedback and we'll be able to do something. My last response is to the question based on health and education. Yes, sorry. I totally agree with you. We've done BPPs, for some reason what we did, we started it in the UPA and this government has continued. I mean, for example, on roads, the thing is excellent. On airports, the ones that were privatized are working extremely well. One or two others have also been privatized, but not as many as they should be. There's no reason why railway stations should be modernized on a PPP basis. If you did that, that's what's happening everywhere else. The railway stations are in prime locations, and if you utilize that commercial estate system, it can give a lot of benefits. Chinese have done that. We should do the same thing. I mean, for example, there's no reason why trains shouldn't be privatized. I mean, look, we are a country with huge disparities. There are people who want a very low quality service and really are quite used to difficulties, and for a cheaper ride they would go overnight. Then there are other people who want a fast track, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Delhi, Srinagar, really something else, who want to pay and have the ability. One organization doing this is not going to work. That could be done very easily. So I think public-private partnerships have a huge role, and we've started it, but we could do better. The second thing is that at the state level, there's very little, and I don't see why states don't take up this thing and say, look, if centre is not involved, states could be very active. Even in schools, I mean, there are things called charter schools in the United States where the government says, look, you run the school, it's going to be free. We will pay for all the free students X amount, which is what our public school budget costs, and you will have 30% fee-paying students. And then it will be run by an NGO or a private not-for-profit organization. I mean, it would give us a sense of what is possible. Because at the moment, what is happening in many of our public sector schools, people are just leaving and going to the private sector, and they're doing nothing about it. So, there is huge scope there. I mean, Canada has a great reputation on the school front, but the percent of public sector schools in Canada is much smaller. It's in Bihar, where all the schools are public sector, none of the kids are learning anything. There's a serious problem there. Anyway. But on health, you're right. I mean, we've known that for a long time. It's true that we're not spending enough, but remember, health expenditure and education expenditure is dominantly a state government side. Center does a little bit, they have some guidelines. But what I don't understand is that if the people of India really cared about health and education, they would lobby their state governments. And I mean, everything going to the center is not really useful. The interesting thing is that, within states, the actual performance doesn't show the variation that you expect given the reputation of the state. I mean, literacy and so on in the southern states is definitely much higher. But if you look at the ASER results, the southern states don't do much better than the northern states. So something is really wrong. And I don't have an answer. Management institutes should focus on interstate comparison of what is it, why are all schools in every state more or less the same, or is there a lot of variation within states? And I think that's anything done in that area would be very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
So, sincere thanks and deepest gratitude for your valuable insights. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and vision with us. With this, I would like to invite Convener Samavaya 2025, Dr. Neha Shah, for delivering vote of thanks.
Good morning, esteemed audience. I feel honored and privileged to be standing here on behalf of the entire committee of organizing Samavaya, the second International Conference on Emerging Trends in Management Practices. On this special occasion of our second conference, I would like to thank all the honorable guests, speakers, and the delegates and the students who have blessed us with their presence and their participation. First and foremost, of course, our special thanks to Dr. Ahluwalia for accepting our invitation to the chief guest and delivering the keynote speech. Sir, your words are very, very insightful. When you say very rightly that the world is getting more and more complex, and in that case, if we want another 1991 moment, we require to understand the complexity of the technology, how it is changing the production function, how it is changing the terms of trade, and how it is changing and shifting the employment opportunities. And in that context, we need to think about the ambition that we set for our economic growth. Thank you very much, sir, for your very, very insightful session. I take this opportunity to also express my deepest gratitude to Professor Rakesh Vasan sir, who has guided us throughout the journey, from the stage of inception to the execution of the entire conference. Sir, it was not possible able to give this shape to the conference without it. I convey my deep regard and hearty thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dinesh Awasthi, for all his support and guidance. And sir, you are the guiding force behind this endeavor. Without this, conference would not have taken this shape. It would not have taken this shape. Sir, also your questions from the seat of presidents of this conference were very, very insightful, which started or which initiated the debate about what could be the policy that India should adopt if we want to achieve Viksit Bharat and continue our journey. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your views and sharing your ideas. I also take this opportunity to thank all the steering committee members for giving meaningful inputs in shaping this conference. Professor Oyun has come all the way from Malaysia. Professor Ravindra has come all the way from Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining us. Professor Irene, Professor Govindaman, Professor Ritika, Professor P.K. Singh are all going to join us virtually today and tomorrow, and their insights are very, very useful. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Sanjay Pal, Professor Thakur, Professor Bharti ma'am, who has always attended the meeting and has given their inputs about how to shape this conference. To our distinguished panelists and our session chairs, we deeply appreciate your accepting of our invitation and share your expertise. We look forward to learn from you in all the forthcoming technical sessions. Thank you, the Taru Publication, for having a partnership for publication in the Journal of Statistics and Management Ecosystem. Selected papers are going to be published in this particular journal. So that is going to give more meaning to the discussion that will take place in these 2 days. I take this opportunity to also thank Dr. Manish Bhai Shah, the President of Lok Jagriti Kendra, and Professor Emeritus, Professor P.K. Mehta sir, for always being there with their full support and their guidance. I just mentioned the Director of MBA program, Dr. Siddharth Singh Bist, for ensuring that we get all necessary assistance. Words are not enough to thank his constant and unwavering support. Thank you, Siddharth sir. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheel starts rolling months in advance. I'm very much thankful to all our faculty colleagues and non-teaching staff members who have always stood by us and motivated us. Support from them is the secret behind the success of execution, or the successful execution. I also extend my gratitude to the other institutes of Alger University, the MC department, the Media and Communication department, the Law, Institute of Law, for always standing by us and extending all the necessary help. Thank you all. And of course, last but not the least, thank you all students for being there in coordinating all the activities, taking up the responsibility. Without your support, without your enthusiasm, without your participation, LJ will not be LJ. Thank you, everyone. And with this, we start the technical session. And I hope you all will have a wonderful time in this 2 days. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neha ma'am. Coming to the last segment of the session, I would request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Dinesh Awasthi, to present the token of our appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Montexit Aluwani. Excellency, Dr. Siddharth Best, to present the token of our appreciation and gratitude to Professor Rakesh Dassi. I would request everyone present over here to stand for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गावे तब जय गाथा जय गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
The audience may please remain seated till the guests proceed.
ये सेव हो गया है ना अभी सेव की इसमें
અહીંયા થી આ છે ને અહીંયા થી સ્ટોપ કરી દેજો સેવ થઈ
खरीद दियो सेव खरीद दियो चल पटेल सेव करेगा
We will start the technical sessions as scheduled.
લાઈવ એન્ડ કરી દેવાનું
હા હવે લાઈવ એન્ડ કરી દો અને એને ડાઉનલોડ બી કરી
So I request all the participants who are presenting their paper and all the panel